Has something been shifting for you lately? Not dramatically, not with trumpets or lightning bolts, but quietly. Something that once consumed you, maybe a relationship, a pattern, or a fear that feels somehow different now, a little lighter, a little less urgent. Or perhaps the opposite. Everything seems to be surfacing all at once. Old wounds, old patterns, things you thought that you had moved past are suddenly present again, more clearly than ever, as though asking to be seen one final time. If either of these feelings are true for you, I ask you to pay close attention to what I am about to share. Because both of these experiences, the lightening and the final surfacing, are both signs of the same thing. A karmic cycle is nearing its end. And knowing how to recognize that, and more importantly, knowing what to do when you see it, can be the difference between completing the cycle and unconsciously beginning it again. My name is Ajita, and for over 35 years, I have worked at the level of karma consciousness and energetic healing with people at every stage of their karmic journey. And one of the most profound moments I witness in my work again and again is the moment when someone recognizes that the cycle that they have been living inside of is finally, truly nearing its end. There is a particular quality to that recognition, a mixture of relief and tenderness, of grief for what was and wonder at what is opening. Today, I want to help you recognize that moment in your own life. Not just the signs that the cycle is closing, but what is actually happening beneath the surface when those signs appear, and how to work with this moment so the cycle completes fully rather than quietly beginning again. Now, before we look at the signs, I want to make sure that we're speaking the same language. Karma is not punishment. It is not fate. It is not the universe keeping score. Karma is unresolved energy, an energetic imprint held in your field and carrying the residue of experiences that were never fully processed, emotions that were never fully removed, or moved through, and wounds that found no resolution. A karmic cycle is what happens when that unresolved energy keeps drawing in the same experience in different forms with different faces until the energy finally finds its completion. Now think of it like a question your soul has been asking for a very long time. The cycle is the question being asked repeatedly, and the completion of the cycle is the answer finally arriving. A karmic cycle does not complete simply because time passes, or because you understand it intellectually, or even because you have grown wiser and more patient. It only completes when the energetic imprint itself, the unresolved energy at the root of the cycle, is finally cleared. And with that understanding, let us look at the six signs. Sign number one, the pattern feels different, not gone, but changed. You're in a situation that has triggered you many times before. The same dynamic, the same type of person, the same kind of wound being touched. But this time, something is different. Where there was once fire, there is now a kind of quiet. Where once you would have reacted, you find yourself observing. Where once you would have collapsed inwards or pushed outwards in defense, you feel something steadier, something that can hold this without being consumed by it. Now, don't mistake this for indifference. This is not suppression. This is consciousness that has risen above the level at which the karma was operating. When you notice this, honor it. This is evidence that something is clearing at the level that matters. Now, sign number 2, relationships begin to soften or naturally complete. Karmic relationship, the ones woven through with the deepest lessons, have a particular quality in the early stages of this cycle. They feel magnetic in ways that don't make sense, charged and complicated. Near the end of the karmic cycle, one of the two things happen. Either the relationship softens, the sharp edges dissolve, and the pattern that kept generating pain between two people quietly loses its charge. Or the relationship naturally completes, not with drama, not with rupture, but with a quiet, almost inexplicable sense of this has run its course. Both of these are signs of the same thing. The karmic energy that was held between you has found its resolution. Now, if you are feeling this in a relationship right now, whether as softening or as completion, pay attention. This is not failure on your part, but just the cycle closing. Now, sign number 3, old wounds surface one final time. Now, this is the sign that most confuses people because it does not feel like progress. It feels like regression. Near the end of a karmic cycle, old wounds often surface more clearly, more intensely than they have in years. Things you thought you had healed, patterns you thought you had moved past, and the instinct is to feel defeated, to think, I am back at the beginning. But I want to reframe this for you completely. When old wounds surface near the end of a karmic cycle, it is not because you are regressing, but it is because the cycle is preparing to complete. When a wound is finally ready to heal, truly heal at the root, it must be fully seen before it can be released. The surfacing is the soul saying, look here, one final time, see this clearly, feel this completely, and then let it go. If old wounds are surfacing in your life right now, then do not run from them. This is the moment to bring them to the surface completely, to reach the root, to let the cycle close in the way that it has been trying to close for a very long time. Sign number 4 is when you feel a pull towards something new without knowing what it is. A quiet but persistent pull towards something you cannot yet name. Not restlessness, not dissatisfaction, but something more like a readiness. As though a part of you knows what is coming is different from what has been. This pull is the soul beginning to sense the space that will open up when the cycle completes. Now, if you feel this pull right now, follow it. Not urgently, not grasping, but with the quiet trust of someone who knows that they are being called forward. Number 5 is synchronicities really increase. Near the end of a karmic cycle, life begins to rearrange itself. Coincidences that feel too precise to be accidental. People appearing at exactly the right moment. A conversation that answers the question you have not even asked out aloud. These are not accidental. This is the field responding. When karmic weight lifts, your field comes into greater alignment with the natural flow of consciousness. Pay attention to the synchronicities. They are confirmation. Sign number 6, you begin to sense a quality of peace that doesn't make logical sense. A peace that arrives even before the outer circumstances have changed. A stillness beneath the surface of life that is not dependent on everything being okay. A sense quiet, consistent, inexplicable, that something fundamental has shifted, that a weight has been lifted. This is the piece of a karmic cycle nearing its completion. The unresolved energy that was contracting your field is dissolving. And in the space it leaves, consciousness expanded. Quietly, naturally, the way a room fills with light when a curtain is finally drawn back. This is what it feels like when karma clears and consciousness increases. This is what it means for suffering to end. Not with a bang, but with a gentle, unmistakable settling into peace. So, what do you do when you begin to recognize these signs in your life? The most important thing I can tell you is this: do not let this moment pass without completing it. Because in 35 years of working with karmic cycles, a cycle can come right to the edge of completion and without the right support, quietly begin again. Not because you failed, not because you did anything wrong, but because the karmic imprint at the root, the energetic residue that has been running that cycle, was never directly cleared. It's lightened, softened, the signs appeared, but the root remained. And a root that remains will eventually, over time, generate new expressions, the same old cycle. This is why recognition alone is not enough. When you see these signs, when you feel the cycle nearing its end, this is precisely the moment that you go to the root, to do the work of clearing the karmic imprint itself. When karma clears, consciousness increases. And when consciousness increases, suffering ends. Not almost, not temporarily, but completely. Tell me in the comments, which of these 6 signs did you recognize in your own life? Because by naming it, by bringing it into light of awareness, you take the first step towards completing what has been circling. Subscribe to this channel so you don't miss what comes next. I'll see you in the next video.